My name is Jim Taylor. They call me JC, and I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I also live in the Florida Keys, Marathon, Florida. Before I went in the Marine Corps, I was in college, and had no idea about the Marines or any of that kind of stuff. And I was also a pilot. I learned how to fly. I started learning in my senior year at South Broward High School in Hollywood. And then I took it as a course in my freshman year in college. And actually your final test was the FAA's test. And I got my pilot's license when I was a freshman in college. And I got drafted in the Army. I came home one day and had greetings. And I lived with my grandparents in Hollywood, and my grandmother was sitting at the table crying, and they watched news at night and blah blah. And she was so upset, and you're gonna have to go in the Army. And I said, I'm not going in the Army. I had an uncle that was a general in the Air Force at the time. I said, I'm gonna go in the Air Force, and Uncle Bill can help me out because I don't want to fly. So a couple days later, I went down to the Air Force recruiter. Nope, have to graduate from college. We won't let you fly. Got mad. Went over to the Navy guy, which was just 2 doors down. Walked in there, same thing. Nope, you got to graduate from college. That's mad. As I walked out of his office, there was this huge Marine standing there. He was 6'5", and he was a gunnery sergeant, and he goes, I was kicking rocks and I was mad, and he puts his arm around me. He goes, "What's the matter with you, son?" I said, "Oh, that damn Navy won't let me fly." I said, "I already have a pilot's license. I'm already a pilot. They won't let me fly." He pulls me into his office. He goes, "Come on in here. Marine Corps will let you fly." And I bit on that just like a fish in the ocean. So in those days, they had a program called the MARCAD program. Okay, you didn't have to, because I didn't want to go in and go through OCS school and become an officer and have to spend all this time in the Marines. I just wanted to go in, do my thing, but I wanted to fly while I was doing it. And so the MARCAD program sounded pretty cool. You didn't have to go up to OCS school. They sent you, I can't remember anymore, but they sent you somewhere, and you could be enlisted and still be able to fly. It sounded awful phony to me at the time, having listened to my uncle all the years in the Air Force. So anyway, I signed my name and went home, and my grandmother started crying even harder. She cried for 2 weeks. You're going where? In the Marine Corps? So that's pretty much what I was doing. And the next thing I know, they let me finish the semester I was in Fort Lauderdale in college, and then I went off to Parris Island. I went to Memphis after I got through all the infantry training and that stuff, and by then because I wasn't supposed to go to Parris Island, and here I go off to Parris Island, and I wasn't supposed to go to ITR, and off I go to ITR, and the whole time I'd ask for the commanding officer, and I'd want to go up and have my little say-so with the commanding officer, and that never went very far either. So off I went to Memphis, and learn all about helicopters, and learn how to take them apart and put them back together again. And I was interested in that. I've never been mechanical. I'm a builder. I've been a builder all my life, 42 years. I build houses, and so I like to build stuff, but I've never been mechanical. I like cars, but I like to put the key in and go boom, and D means that way and R means that way, and that's what I like. And I learned a lot more about engines and jet engines and mechanical things when I was in the Marines than I ever knew. And when I got out of Memphis, they sent me to Santa Ana. And I ended up in 302 squadron, a training squadron. And when I was in 302, they started teaching us how to be crew chiefs. I'd completely given up on the flying thing by now. I figured out that wasn't going to happen, and that big 6'4" gunnery sergeant was pulling my leg. But I still expressed that to every commanding officer that ever got his hands on me. I was always going, I want to fly. I have a pilot's license. I want to fly. And When I ended up in 364, Colonel Gulling was our commanding officer, Lou Gulling. And my plane in the Purple Foxes was the #1 plane, because my side number was 153364. And so they made that plane #1, and I don't know why they gave it to me, but I got plane #1. And so the commanding officer, Colonel Gulling, used to fly with me a lot. Really. He just, anytime he went flying, if one was available, he wanted to be in #1. And we were extremely lucky in Vietnam. I was, in particular. I was there months and months and months and never took a round. We go flying in these big, 10 planes flying to these zones, and everybody gets shot up, and I'd come out of there smelling like a rose. And we're the first guy in, because commanding officer, Colonel Gulling, he went, we're the first one in, period. And it's usually that plane they want to hit, because it'll stack up all the others up. We'd go flying in there and fly out. And it got to the place in the morning when the gunners would line up to get on one of the planes. I'd have 20 of them wanting to get on my airplane, because they didn't think I could get hit, which is totally not right. But yeah, it was something to be that lucky. I never felt in Vietnam that that I was in danger. I never really felt that ever. And I'm not a brave guy. I like excitement in my life, though. I like adrenaline. I'm a skydiver, and I'm a pilot, and motorcycle racer. I do all the things in life that you're pretty, especially at my age, probably shouldn't be doing. But I like it. I like adrenaline. I like to be on the edge. When I'm not on the edge, and I'm bored to death. And so I got along well in the Marine Corps. Even in boot camp, I scored the second highest score at Paris Island on my physical fitness test, because I was a surfer and I was in really good shape. And although the Marine Corps teaches you a lot about discipline and how to organize and how to take charge, I was kind of raised that way. My mom and dad they were like that also. So the Marine Corps wasn't a really big deal to me. It was, oh yeah, they yell and scream at you and throw shit at you, but you know what? It just get over it. They're here to scare you into being the man that they want you to be. So I always got along well with the Marines, and I never had a problem. Made PFC out of boot camp, and I just the whole time, even in Vietnam was more exhilarating for me actually than it was dangerous. I flew, like all my crew chief friends, flew a lot. I flew 600 some combat missions. I never once ever, I got shot down 3 times in Vietnam, and none of it ever, it's just, you're there to do it. And you just got to hope that bullet doesn't find you. I used to stand outside of the doorway flying into zones. I used to stand outside with my M16 or I had an M79 too. I love that thing. I just stand out there because I always felt like I'm the target now. You're not shooting at that big green thing. Now you got a mouthy little guy out here screaming at you, because I used to do that. And I was always yelling, muzzle flash, I want to see a muzzle flash here. And other crew chiefs used to come to me and go, JC, what is the matter with you? You get out in the, you're outside almost the whole time. And I said, because they're going to shoot at me, and they can't hit me. They might hit the plane somewhere if they're shooting at me, but they're not going to hit me. They can't. They're not that good a shot. They got those old AKs and full of mud, and that's the place I want to be, is right out there. So I don't know. I just was always like that. Other guys will tell you that too. I like that. But like have heard guys say, you don't get scared, but after it's over with is when it all sinks in what you just did. You're 20 years old. I'm a surfer, and all of a sudden now you're over there shooting people. And I've been a hunter all my life. My dad bought me my first shotgun when I was 10 years old and taught me how to hunt. So I've been around guns all my life, but never had shot at anyone other than deer and rabbits. And so that was a different experience. But like a shirt that I wear all the time, it is what it is. So you just got to step up to the plate. Either that or you got to put your tail between your legs and go the other direction and just go, you know, folks, I can't do this. And never saw anybody in Vietnam do that. We all stood up. Yeah, caisson, 881, 861, all that. You know, we get a lot of we get mail from these guys from those places because we went in. We didn't care. We went in. Those guys are all alone up there. You know, you can call us a bunch of heroes, and that's bull. We didn't have to go in. When we were socked in and stuff, we'd go flying on missions that you shouldn't be up there in a helicopter. But we are going after those guys. That's what I like about the Marines. It's, you know, we all take care of each other. You don't find it in any other branch of the service. No, I've never seen it anyway. We're amazing how the Marines stick close. We'll lose 5 guys trying to get 1 because that's what we're supposed to do. You ask about funny things that happen, and I notice, and you probably don't get a lot of funny things that actually happen. I had a couple funny things happen to me in Vietnam. One was on Christmas Eve, and I got a box in the mail on Christmas Eve, and in our tent, and Artie Johnson was a black guy in our squadron, and he was in S1, and he was also the guy that gave us all our mail. And he gets this box, and he comes into the tent, and he goes, JC, he goes, you got this box this big in the mail from Hollywood, Florida. He goes, but I can't give it to you. And I said, what do you mean you can't give it to me? He goes, because I shook it, and there's liquid in there. And he goes, you're not supposed to do that. And he goes, but are you going to be having some kind of a party tonight, a Christmas party? And I said, more than likely, and you are invited. And so he gave it to me. And so one of the guys, Stuart, he got all dressed up that night, like he put a towel around his face, and he was Santa Claus, and we drank all 4 bottles that night because, as most people know, they didn't give NCOs anything but beer. And so that was pretty cool. And then one day I'm out on the flight line. This is kind of a dumb story about me. I'm out on the flight line one day, and this guy comes up to me, and they have 262 or somebody has had a plane shot down. And there's their chase plane over there, and they want one of our mechanics to go out there and fix this problem. They'd shot out a fuel line back by the ramp. And they came over and showed me which one had been shot out. So we took one off of our birds, and I get on this plane with these other guys from this other squadron. And all I have on is my flight suit and my helmet. And away we go. And I have a wrench, and I have a couple wrenches and that piece of fuel line. And we land, and when we landed, I get off the ramp, and these guys take off, and away they go. Well, I'm out in the middle of nowhere now in the boonies, and I don't have anything but wrenches on me. And I'm going, what the hell did these guys do? And so I go up, and I fix the line. I put the new line on, and I went up and got into the pilot's seat, and I fired up the ape, and I fired up the #1 engine to see if things would work on this thing. Engine comes online, I fire up the #2 engine line, it comes online, and I go, well, I'm just going to fly this thing home. I'm a pilot. I've watched this enough times. Colonel Gullen used to take me down the end and let me hover it, you know, just so you can get a feel. Because, you know, it's a good idea to let crew chiefs know how this works, because when you both get it up there, then I'm the only guy that can come fly the airplane. Or pull him out like Chauncey and sit down. You really should have 2 people up there. So I'm getting ready to take this thing. I'm getting ready to go off with it, and all of a sudden, now the #1 engine comes offline. Oh, Jesus. And then the #2 engine comes offline. What is going on? And so I come back around, and I get up on the aft pylon, and I'm messing around with the ape. And all of a sudden, over my head, like this. And I just jumped from the top of the pylon all the way down on the ground. I'm going, oh, now what? And I slid underneath the plane, and I'm hiding under the plane, and this Marine comes around behind me. And I did not know there were 10 Marines hiding in the woods right beside me. I didn't know they were there. He comes around there, and I almost died right there in Vietnam then by my heart exploding. But got the ape fired back up again, and was on the radio to the Purple Foxes going, you need to come and get me out of this. This is our plane. I have no business here. And I got 10 guys here that don't know which end of the gun really goes off. because they were all brand new in country. And nope, couldn't come get me. And everybody's out doing stuff. And and I had to spend the night, the whole night with those guys on the ground, which totally, crew chiefs don't belong on the ground. We belong in the air. And they dropped mortars on us all night long and trying to blow this plane up. And I've never dug a foxhole. And so this gunnery sergeant that was in charge of this mess here, he came over and goes and gives me a shovel, and he goes, okay, you got to dig a foxhole. And so for the first time ever in my life, I dug a foxhole. And it started off about this deep, and then more shooting and more shooting, and it got about this deep and more shooting, more shooting. The next thing you know, I'm down this deep down there, I'm throwing it out like, and we were up on the edge of a hill like this, and the VC were on the other side of us on like a pond. It was almost like a rice paddy, but I don't think it was, in the trees, and you could see their muzzle flashes like this. And then they charge across, and we'd all get up and bang, bang, bang. And everybody'd stand up and fire except me. I used to get up like this, and then I'd take my head down and I'm sure they were real impressed. Of course, I had on my flight suit too, and I knew if I get caught, I'm going north, and these guys are all just probably going to die here, but they're going to take me up north. And so about, I don't know, it was midnight or something like that, they dropped in some mortars, and one went off right behind us, this corporal that was right next to me, and it went off and hit us both. And luckily we were on an angle like this, so the shrapnel, when it went in, I had 3 pieces go in my back, and they just right under the skin, other than it was just like getting burned with a cigarette. But I fell backwards, and I fell into my foxhole. And I fell into my foxhole like this. And I'm trapped in there. I can't move. And it got dead quiet. And I thought, oh, God, they overran us. I'm stuck in this goddamn foxhole. And for the longest time, I wouldn't even say anything. And finally, I started going, Gorman, Gorman, and I'm just trying to keep it real low, and Gorman, and finally some guy comes over and looks over, what are you doing down there? He yanked me up out of that hole. The Gorman comes over with his K-bar and lights it and pries this stuff out of my back with his K-bar. But I go back, finally they send a plane in for us about daybreak. One of our birds comes in, picks us up, and because the other kid got it worse than I did in the back of his back and his legs, and takes us back in, and we pull into the fuel line, or the fuel docks, and I get out of the plane, and I'm walking across the flight line, and up comes this, I didn't even know who he was some lieutenant, and he goes, you're J.C. Taylor, and I go, yeah, that's me, and he goes, you're on report. And I said, what do you mean I'm on report? He goes, you were supposed to be on that, 5-plane mission this morning, and you never showed up. And I go, oh, I just about had it. And yeah, they put me on report, but I got off of it. But yeah, I thought that was funny. Here I am, a crew chief, fighting with the grunts all night long. Jeez. But that's the Marine Corps. I wouldn't come to these without seeing my friends. I stay in contact with them. It's not just these. I go to San Diego all the time. I got 2 or 3 of my good Marine Corps friends live in San Diego. I've got them that live all over. I invite them to my place down in the Florida Keys, and Randy and I, we've been friends forever. We stay in touch. I email. It's just important to me. It's important to stay in touch. There's too much history with us. We've gone through too much together. And when you go through what we've been through, only those people know what we're talking about. When I came back from Vietnam, none of my friends nobody was in the service. I was one of the few guys amongst my crew that ever went in the service. And I wouldn't even talk to people about Vietnam. They wouldn't understand Vietnam. First of all, they think you're a baby killer, and we got spit on when we came back from San Francisco. They spit on us. And that just was appalling to me. But what are you gonna do? I just soon forget Vietnam. I don't want it ever. I don't march in Vietnam parades. I don't do anything that I don't even talk about Vietnam usually. There's no reason to talk about it. I'll talk about it with these guys. because we understand. But you get outside of our group, you're wasting your voice. They don't get it. To be honest, I just wish they'd just forget about it and just forget about all of it, you know. Our country just can't seem to get it right. We're in Afghanistan, Iraq, we don't belong there. You know, we have big bombs for this kind of shit. Probably the most proud thing that I've been associated with in the Marine Corps were the Purple Foxes. I've been in 2 other squadrons since when I came back from Vietnam, but it's just the esprit de corps of the men in the Purple Foxes. We all started in Santa Ana, and we all formed, and I was in 302 when they put the piece of paper in the ready room that day. We're starting a new squadron, HMM 364, all volunteers, sign here. And there was only 1 name on it, and I was in 2. I just wanted to go. I mean, you're going anyway, so let's just get it over with. And I heard that they were going to get the new D model. You know, we were flying A models, and I thought, oh, this will be neat, you know, new planes, new this, new that. So I'm very proud of my time in the Purple Foxes, extremely proud of it. Extremely proud that I got to have the #1 plane in the squadron. I always loved that. I even painted for Colonel Gulling. I was a basset hound guy. I love basset hounds, hunting dogs, and I painted a basset hound on the nose of the plane one day, and it had tears coming out of its little eyes, and Colonel Gulling comes out and he sees that and he goes, JC, why'd you put this on the nose? And I said, do you really think anyone's going to shoot at this? A dog's crying. I said, who's going to shoot at something like that? And he just laughed. He and I got along extremely well. I really like that man. But yeah, the Purple Foxes, I can't say enough about them. I just can't. I've seen other squadrons. I've talked to other squadron people. There's nobody that's like us. There's nobody that bonds together like, and like I've heard, my oldest friends that I have are at home that I actually went to grade school and stuff with, but my really good friends, my really friends that I die every time one of them dies, are my friends from HMM 364. There wasn't a greater bunch of men that I've ever been associated with ever. And I've been a builder for 42 years, so a lot of people say I should be proud that I've run my own business for 42 years and been successful. The things I'm most proud of in my life are my Marine Corps. My time in the Marine Corps and HMM 364, the Purple Foxes.